We are going to continue with the panel focusing on ESG concerns of small and medium enterprises. SMEs form the backbone of our country's economy, contributing more than 1/3 of national GDP. Hence, any transformation in sustainability practices needs to take into account their perspectives and requirements to make that transition. Furthermore, if Malaysian SMEs are not encouraged and supported in adopting ESG practices, this only increases the risk of Malaysia falling behind regional peers in terms of being an attractive destination for foreign direct investments. So to address these issues related to ESG integration for SMEs, please welcome to the stage Encik Rizal Nainy, CEO of SME Corporation Malaysia, Mr. Callum Chen, Chairman and CEO of LH Plus and President of the Malaysian Consortium of Mid-Tier Companies, as well as Mr. Max Lee, CEO of Pantas Climate Solutions. This session will be moderated by Encik Azizi Mustafa, Head of the Development Finance Division at MIDF. Azizi, I hand the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Shazana. Assalamualaikum, very good morning to everyone, and welcome to this session 2 of today's conference titled Building Competitiveness with ESG Integration for Small and Medium Enterprises. I am honored to be given this opportunity, to moderate a very important subject, involving the major stakeholders in the economy, the SMEs, and also in the presence, with the presence of the 3 very distinguished panelists this morning. I think in the earlier session, the panelists talked about the challenges, about the the dilemma faced by the corporation and also investors in embracing ESG. And this morning, in this session, we will hear directly, from the various stakeholders involved with the SMEs, how they can actually embrace and integrate ESG into their businesses. I think as all of us know, SMEs, form the main bone of the Malaysia economy. The almost 98% of the establishment in Malaysia basically are the micro and also the small and medium enterprises. They contribute almost to 38% of our GDP. They driving innovation, and also they provide employment opportunities. Almost like 48%. Of the market workforce in the country. So of course, talking about the journey on ESG would be daunting, especially among the SMEs. And we heard this morning, as I said, the dilemma faced by the bigger corporation. So what more for the SMEs? And we will engage, with the 3 panelists here, representing various stakeholders. I will introduce them shortly. We have the Encik Rizal basically representing the government or the agency's view, and then we have Max, from the private sector or the solution providers, and of course, Callum, I'm sure many of you know who Callum is, will be representing the SMEs, so to speak. Okay, let me just quickly introduce the panelists. The gentleman on my left is Encik Rizal Nainy. He is the CEO of SME Corporation or SME Corp. SME Corp basically is a government agency that is mandated to spearhead the development of SMEs, implement and monitor strategic SME program for ministries and also agencies, as well as being the central point for reference for research and data dissemination on SMEs and entrepreneurs. The SME Corp also provides advisory services for SMEs. And prior to joining SME, Encik Rizal spent 6 years in the Prime Minister's department doing strategic transformation, and 16 years in Shell, with the locally and also abroad in various capacities. I think one of the primary responsibilities in SME Corp is basically to plan, value add and implement strategy, SME development programs aligning to the 12 Malaysia Plan, the DKN 2020, which is the Dasar Keusahaman Negara or the National Entrepreneurship Policy 2020. Gentleman in the middle is Max Lee, the CEO and also co-founder of Pantas. Pantas is one of the top climate technology solution providers in Southeast Asia with a mission to transform the business landscape through sustainable practices. Max pioneered the groundbreaking greening value chain program in collaboration with the Bank Negara Malaysia, whereby the initiative is specifically designed to support Malaysian companies, especially SMEs, in their quest to reduce their environmental impact, thereby making them more sustainable and globally competitive. Prior to Pantas, Max was the CEO and co-founder of Pixis, a leading big data analytic firm in the US. And the last gentleman on your right is Mr. Callum Chen, the chairman and CEO of LH Plus. Very famous guy here. Okay. LH Plus is an OEM and private level manufacturing of high quality and durable plastic products in Malaysia. So it's quite interesting, how the plastic industries, and ESG. So there is something perhaps that you have in mind later on to ask him. 90% of his total output is exported to the US, Japan, Germany, Australia, and some countries in Asia. Callum is very active in supporting the growth of local businesses in Malaysia, and he is a strong advocate of what he termed "Together We Progress," which is to foster a strong working relationship between private and public sectors and conduit to the sustainable nation building. Callum is the president of MCMTC, which is the Malaysian Consortium of Mid-Tier Companies, the honorary president of Malaysian Plastics Manufacturer Association, the Secretary General of Asia Plastics Forum, co-chair Asia of the Global Plastic Alliance, and also chairman of the Malaysian Plastics Design Center. So I'm sure you will agree with me that we have very high caliber and right panelists with us this morning to discuss about ESG in SMEs. By the way, can we see by show of hands how many of you are from SMEs? Okay, so it's quite a number. Okay, just to set the tone, perhaps I can get into Rizal to share some brief insights, the importance of ESG among the SMEs from government perspective.
Right. Thank you, Chair Azizi, for the introduction as well. Very good morning to all of you, especially to Tan Sri Rahman here. We have Chairman of MIDF as well as Datuk Sharon, CEO of MIDF, and every one of you. Perhaps talking about ESG, environment, social, and governance. SME Corp Malaysia has just had a session yesterday, still hot from the oven. We had with Petronas, the oil and gas giant. When it comes to ESG, we have actually shared what are things that SMEs need to know when it comes to the frameworks, how to develop the strategy, as well as how to monitor the performance once you actually adopt the ESG practices. But as mentioned, been asked by Cik Aziz just now, the importance or benefits of ESG. Well, as you know that the government of Malaysia is committed towards the United Nations Agenda for Sustainable Development 2030, as well as to achieve the net zero carbon emission by 2050. So these are the two things that are very important to the government, to Malaysia, to the people, for us to look into how we actually preserve the environment, as well as when we talk about environment, it will include also the word of ESG, environment, social, and governance. And the governments provide a lot of initiatives in terms of how we can actually bring forward, especially the SMEs, to look into this. But as you know that ESG is a new thing, something new to the SMEs, especially they look as a cost or a burden rather than an investment for them to actually take this up. But there are a lot of importance when it comes to ESG, as we know that under the GHG emissions or carbon emission, there are three scopes. Scope number one is about the direct emission of the carbon. Scope number two is the indirect carbon emission, and number three is indirect carbon emission, but involving in the supply chain that very much related to SMEs when actually SMEs supply product or services to big or large companies, including multinationals and GLCs. So the ESG is not just for so-called large mid-tier companies, but also for SMEs, small, medium enterprises. And this carbon emission scope 3 is very important because multinationals, GLCs, need to report not only their direct and indirect scope of reporting, but also the supply chain that involve small, medium enterprises that actually supply to them. Yeah. So scope 3 is important, and we know that one day these all 3 scope become compulsory, and it means that SMEs need to comply and become ESG ready whenever they actually supply their services and products to the multinationals and big, large corporations. And it becomes a non-trade barrier to market access. And we know developed countries, for example, like in the Europe, United States, Canada, has been actually imposed ESG tax to the exporters or importers, including SMEs in that supply chain as well. So SMEs need to actually align their business strategy, their thinking to incorporate sustainability into their core values and pivot their business models to manage ESG dimensions in a balanced manner. And of course, well, under SME Corp Malaysia, we have a program called PKS Lestari, a program that we would like to accelerate and encourage SMEs to know about ESG and adopt the ESG while developing the ESG ecosystem in Malaysia. And adopting these ESG practices is not only about businesses being good, but it is about good business, meaning that it's about corporate governance. It's not just about environment that we are looking at, it's also social and governance. Talking about social is about like minimum wage, you must have your employee benefits training, and for example, like the governance, you need to have like anti-bribery policy, making sure corporate governance is inculcated or instilled in the business strategy for SMEs. And of course, in the long run, SMEs should look this as an element to improve the image and reputation of the company, as well as to optimize the cost efficiency. And ESG actually can reduce the operating costs, looking at the waste management, looking at the energy efficiency, using solar, using RE, renewable energy, which are, of course, at this point of time, for SMEs, they think it is kind of a big investment. But some of you, or perhaps some of the SMEs, without knowing, they already adopt this. For example, like solar panels in their premises. That's already part and parcel of ESG element. Waste management using rain harvesting water, as well as how to reduce your electricity bill, because electricity bill is one of the so-called scope 2, which is indirect carbon emission, that you need to know how much you would like to reduce it and how much equipment that you would like to improve when it comes to energy efficiency. I think that's for now. I think lot to be said afterwards, perhaps. Thank you.
Thanks, Rizal, for sharing that insights from the government. Perhaps Max or Callum, can also add to your perspective. How do we connect all these dots? The expectation from the government or the forces, from the outside, which require SMEs to comply one day, to do ESG. So as kind of like the somewhere in the middle, and also perhaps Callum from the SME, the actual players, how do you connect the dots?
Okay, thank you. And thank you everyone for attending this session. I will share a little bit more from a solution provider perspective. So I think we deal with, we have in direct conversation or discussion with large MNCs on how to manage the supply chain emission, which is scope 3 that it mentioned earlier. So just I'm going to share with you one example on how it will impact the SME. So we recently in discussion with one of the world's largest auto manufacturer. They have a manufacturing facility in Southeast Asia, and they were asking us not to calculate their scope 3, but we want to know how we can calculate and manage our scope 3 emission. Basically, how do we ensure our supplier are complying with emission and also the other ESG metrics? And they said, we will give our supplier time, but eventually, if they cannot comply, we would have to reach out to other supplier. So from the SME's perspective, this is about survival. It's not about doing ESG because you feel good. If you want to continue to supply to this large corporation, large MNC, this is part of the process. And I think the great thing about Malaysia is because Pantas, we operate Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, etc. I think Malaysian government have a lot of initiative to help to assist SME to join this ESG journey. SME Corp, for example, have various programs. Bank Negara has financing support. MIDF have also financing scheme to help SME to get on this ESG. But what we're seeing right now is the awareness, of course, is an issue. People know ESG in a very broad sense, but I think a lot of companies still need to understand the technical aspect of it, which is what the government is trying to help, Bank Negara is trying to help. So ESG is not just about talking. There's math, there's calculation, there's process that you need to implement. You might already implement some of them, but if you do not properly track it, report it, then it doesn't really count. So from the solution perspective, we understand that CSO, Chief Sustainability Officer, for large corporation is one of the most highly sought after job. If you can open your LinkedIn and look at the job application, you see a lot of companies are trying to hire CFO or trying to poach CFO from one company from the other. It's a very hot career track, but what I'm trying to highlight is there's not enough expert domain knowledge in this. So what we're trying to do is working together with regulators, with the banks, and also using technology to close the gap. And there are various technology solutions that can help you to embark on this ESG journey. Pantas being one of them, but not gonna promote ourselves. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, people see this as a cost, and especially they think we don't know how to do this. Do we have to hire consultants? And consultants not expensive, and it's how do I start to get going on this? I think there are multiple government programs. Try to get on one of this to get the knowledge. And then after that, look into technology solution to solve this. There are multiple of them as well. And then with that, you can build capacity and then leverage ESG to remain competitive. And one example I want to give is recently we helped one of our clients in Thailand, hotel industry, small hotel, not the large chain. So they said, how do we compete and attract the Europeans tourists who care about ESG? So we help them to embark on tracking their carbon emission, etc., pledge net zero, and then subsequently they are in the process of going solar right now to reduce their carbon emission, etc. But doing all this, you need to have a deliverable. So once they're all done with this, we're actually going to help them with the reporting, the certification as well, so they can tell the world that we are really green. We're not just saying that, oh, we are doing this, we have a bunch of green process, but there's nothing to prove. So we are helping them to do this with our partner in Thailand, Kasikornbank Bank. This is the second largest bank in Thailand. So there are a lot of things that can be done. And I think the very important thing is first awareness, and second, how, the execution part, which the solution provider like us come in. And we will go into more details later, but I think I took up too much time. Maybe Mr. Callum can share from the SME perspective.
Callum, just to take a note from what Max mentioned just now. Awareness, I think, is there. among the SMEs, how to go embark on the ESG. But perhaps the first step would be something challenges and difficult for SMEs. I understand for LH Plus, you already have certain initiative in place on the ESG. Perhaps you can share that. So I think there's also one. Sorry for jumping to the Slido. There's one question which is related. There's so many ESG demands for SMEs to consider. What should SMEs prioritize in their journey? Perhaps you can share.
Thank you, Azizi. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, give some umla. Good morning. First of all, I like to do it standing up. Tan Sri Raman's laughing. Okay, let's not be so serious. We are here to enjoy ourselves. Let's be more casual. First of all, I think you agree, ladies and gentlemen. Talk is cheap. Agree? Talk is cheap. Is there? Not so loud, Is there a political will to make it happen? Is there a political will to see it through? I think we also have to be pragmatic. We have to be realistic. The reality on the ground is that MNCs will not be an issue. In fact, they are the one who's demanding for it. Number two, many of the mid-tier companies, my company included, we have already been doing many of these things. As Zizi mentioned, like Rizal mentioned, without really realizing that this is part of the ESG. I will share my company's ESG journey later with you all. But very importantly, gentlemen, it will be the SMEs, and more importantly, the micro SMEs, which form 81% of the companies in Malaysia. That will be a challenge. And again, we also have to be realistic. The priority of the micro SMEs is not ESG. It's how can I make money, get the money, buy the raw material, do the products, deliver, collect my money, and live another day. I think this is the fact we have to accept. So don't try to, we can encourage, we can create more awareness, but don't try to push the micro SMEs to do all this. We will be wasting our time, our efforts, and our money. Work with the mid-tier companies, the larger SMEs, the more forward-thinking SMEs, and the micro SMEs will come. It will be an evolution process. Earlier on, they say, what happened if they don't adopt ESG? I said, it's survival. It's the law of the jungle. Those who do not adapt and change will become dinosaurs. You want to survive? You like it, you don't like it, die, you have to adopt it. I mean, this is where we talk about creating the pool. Don't have to worry too much. You talk about life and livelihood. The minister talked earlier on, do we do this? Do we do that? What about those, let's say they talk about moving to EV. What happened to the mechanics? Some people cannot be reskilled. I mean, we have to accept is, okay, I don't agree with that. Everyone can be reskilled and upskilled. It's whether we want to make it a point to do it. And if I don't take care of myself, who am I to blame, ladies and gentlemen? I blame myself. So you want to talk about that? You have to do it. You have to do it. And I think this is where we talk about the very positive spirit. The glass is always half full. So I think, thank you. I don't want to take up too much time.
Thank you.
Otherwise, sorry. One reason why Azizi put me as the last speaker, because, I take a long time. No, I talk very slow. Okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's very
thank you.
passionate about the topic. That's about Callum. In any talk that you call him, he's very passionate. He wants to convey. He wants to share his experience. We value that, Callum. Yeah. So I think the results share about the challenges. I mean the needs for SMEs to embark on ESG, the integration of ESG into the businesses. And Callum also share, what needs to be done from the SME. But I would like to go back to J. Rizal. What are the assistance, or the incentive given by the government to encourage SMEs to embark on the journey? The ESG is the journey. It's not something that you can just like, okay, tomorrow I want to embark on ESG. Within a month you come up with something. I don't think it works that way. It's very. I'm not sure whether the word complicated, is the right word, but of course, there are a lot of understanding, there are a lot of planning required in order for you to fully embrace the ESG. So perhaps, Rizal, you want to share something about this one?
Okay. Regarding about assistance that coming from the government related to environment, social, and governance, as well as green agenda. I think most of you know about it already, but perhaps whether you have applied it and you got it, that's another story lah. Yeah. But what been mentioned earlier in the budget 2023, yeah, recently as well, there is assistance where government is committed to support firms, particularly SMEs, adopting ESG practices into their operations. For example, like Bank Negara Malaysia's 2 billion ringgit of low carbon transition facility and high tech, as well as green facility, HTG. Yeah, so this coming from Bank Negara. As mentioned just now as well, sustainable and green business financing by MIDF. Yeah, and we also have green technology financing scheme 3.0, GTFS under Dana Jamin, green investment tax allowance under MIDA, green income tax exemption and My Hijau mark under Malaysian Green Technology and Climate MGTC. So I think there are several assistance and support that government provides to the SMEs, as well as non-SMEs, I believe. Yeah. So these are so-called assistance when it comes to financial assistance. But equally important, beside all this assistance when it comes to adoption of ESG practices, is also where to start, because SME also always ask, where should I start with this ESG? People have been talking about ESG. There are workshops, there are events. Bank has been saying that lower cost of rate if you are ESG ready. But how do you prove yourself when it comes to ESG ready? So SME Corp Malaysia has a program called PKS Lestari. Under this program, we have 6 elements, and the first element is about awareness and education. Yeah, and the second element is about SME ESG assessment. So I would like to actually touch a bit on this SME ESG assessment, because when actually you want to know where you start with or where you will actually end up in terms of your way forward, this SME ESG assessment will help and guide you. So there are about like 12 indicators in this SME ESG assessment with 45 questions, yes and no or no questions. So it's very simple, very straightforward, easy to understand for SMEs to know where they are. When you actually know where you are, you will get that scoring. And at this point of time, ESG assessment is free of charge. You can go to our website, SME Corp website, and do self-assessment to know what are the ESG practices that you have done already or you have not done yet. And this 45 yes or no questions is very simple, as I mentioned. Actually, it's derived from almost about 200 questions coming from the ESG list internationally. But for SMEs, we make it a bit easy, or perhaps easier, simplify it for you to understand. For example, like your waste management, your energy management, as well as when it comes to governance, how you actually deal with your corporate governance in terms of anti-bribery policy, also about social, for example, minimum wage, as I mentioned just now, looking into training, insurance for the employees. So these are the 12 indicators and 45 questions that consist in this SME ESG assessment. So do surf to our website and do this free of charge self ESG assessment to know where you are. Once you know where you are, you will be scored. Either you are at have not implemented yet, or basic, or intermediate, or advanced. Yeah? So you know where you are, and you know your weaknesses. Then you can implement. What are you supposed to implement? With that weaknesses, you can actually address and articulate to so-called like financial institutions, for example, like banks, yeah, or to MIDF, to show that these are things that I need to actually comply to become ESG ready. With that will be more meaningful for you, not to go through the whole list rather than just to look into fit for purpose when it comes to ESG assessment. So just to complete what it is in the PKS Lestari, we have another 4 elements beside the first 2 just now, awareness and SME ESG assessment, policy support, where as a government agency, we actually support in terms of the policy recommendation. We do engagement facilitation with private sectors as well, and of course with ministries like Ministry of Economy, MITI, yeah, Bursa Malaysia, Security Commissions, and also Bank Negara Malaysia, so that we would like to come up with a support and guidance, yeah, to especially to the SMEs to know how to go about. And of course, the 4th, market assess, how we would like to actually facilitate when it comes to the supply chain, especially to the anchor company, large firms, to actually get the supply from the SMEs using ESG so-called elements of compliance. Standards and compliance, as well as financing and incentives, are the other 2 elements that we are touching under this PKS Lestari program. Thank you.
Thank you. At least we know something today. We have the PKS Lestari, where you can get into in order to assess your level of readiness, in terms of the ESG. Max, in today's world, you cannot separate technology innovation in the business. Yeah. So how can SMEs especially leverage on technology, on innovation, together with the ESG element?
Okay. So I think when we talk about ESG, a lot of people see it as a cost. And yes, it's a cost, but we do believe that if you can leverage technology, you can do it in a cheap manner and also leveraging it to become more profitable. So I just take examples. So we, Tan Sri Lim from Kosan, so he adopted, he used our system to do his carbon accounting. And for him, carbon emission is actually cost. So our system goes down to the operational level. So all his division, his employee know how much carbon emission that each division generates. And for Kosan's perspective, more emission equals more cost. So if you can track that, and then for him is which division generate the most emission per, for example, 1,000 gloves that they produce. This means this division is not as efficient, not as effective as the other one. So reducing emission is reducing costs. So when a lot of employees, a lot of companies, when they launch their ESG projects or ESG initiative, is usually top down. So the management say, you guys all need to care about ESG, but the operational level, people will be like, why? So using technology to track and tie it to the KPI is one way how you can leverage ESG to reduce costs, for example. And I think Kosan did it very beautifully by tying it to the KPI of the operational people, because you need a buy-in. You can't be the CEO's like, we're going to go ESG, yay! And then people is like, oh, another new initiative that my boss dreamed of and doesn't really affect my KPI, so I don't really care. So technology helps you do that. The appropriate technology that can track, that goes down to the operational level, can make a difference. Now ESG is not just about something out in the air that everybody talks about. It's my KPI. And my KPI is reduce carbon emission. Why? Because it's reducing costs. More carbon emission means more consumption. So that's bad in any way. So tying the KPI and getting the buy-in from the operational level, it's one way. And I think that's the best example of how you can leverage technology and in ESG to save money and also get a buy-in from your everybody in the company, not just the top management. Like Mr. Callum said, talks is cheap, right? Yeah, Callum. Okay. As Callum said, talks is cheap. So how do you make talk, translate into execution? So that's one example of how technology can help. We understand that carbon accounting, well, it's complex. There's not a lot of expert on this. So that's where technology come into place. And I think that it can start, like, for example, the GVC program, Greening Value Chain Program under Bank Negara, that's supported under the LCTF that Mr. Rizal mentioned earlier. It's free. It's not going to be free forever. It's free now. So we encourage company to take the advantage of it right now. And even when we talk to large corporations, they understand that their supplier need time to transition. So they actually get us to provide our solution for free for their supplier in the hope of helping their supplier transition. So, and I don't believe that this will be free forever. It's going to be free now because it's the transitional period. But 2 years later, I don't think the company is like, we're going to continue to pay for this program. So I think now is the golden time for company to take initiative and take the opportunity to utilize technology on their ESG journey.
Thanks, Max. So I think the message is very clear. If you want to embark on the ESG, it's cheaper to do it right now when incentives are given, when the freebies, are available at this moment. I think the Max touched a bit on the cost, and the earlier session, the session one also mentioned about the cost. Perhaps, I'm not sure whether that is one of the hindrances for the SMEs, to embark on the ESG. Maybe Callum, you, as I said, you have embraced ESG in your company. Perhaps you can share what we can do on the cost, and of course, the last thing we want the cost being passed over to the consumers or to the next in the value chain. So, but how do you actually integrate ESG elements at the same time, try to maintain perhaps the certain profit margin, without affecting your business?
I'm doing it standing up again. Number one, I think, like Industry 4.0, when it was first launched a couple of years back, there was so much hype. Number one, ESG is not rocket science. It's a lot of common sense. It's a lot of responsibility. Max said the right way just now, buy in. The CEO can do what he wants, of course, or what she wants, diversity, okay? Still the ladies are smiling, okay? What I'm going to do later is share. But unless until the team buys in, it will not work and it will not be sustainable. People should do it because they're happy doing it. That's where the culture comes in. What I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to share with you some scenarios of what can happen. My slide, please.
Slides.
Who's controlling it?
At the back, I think.
Yeah. The year is 2060. Okay? If only I had known then. Okay. Next, please. You see, we have catchy title that make people think, let them imagine, visualize. The same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. So people always tend to be negative. They give excuses why this cannot work. Like, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it is not about the circumstances. It's all about what you're made of. Just like we said just now. If everybody start embracing EV, either the mechanics change their mind, adapt, and change all, they will become dinosaurs. So don't give excuses. You see what's happening and you move. Next, please. The Earth temperature has increased by 9% centigrade, 9 degrees centigrade. The glaciers are melting. The icebergs are melting. Water levels, sea levels is rising. Bangkok is 30% submerged. We all know Bangkok is a sinking city. And Jakarta has already gone down by 50%. But fortunately, in 2023, President Jokowi, who was the president of Indonesia then, had the foresight to start moving the capital from Jakarta to Nusantara. And that's why they're safe in 2060. Next, please. global warming and climate change. Because of the dry weather, forest fire is a given. It's so hot. One spark starts a fire, and huge forest fire. Then there are also people who did because of greed, okay, because of profit. They did illegal logging, they did deforestation, and things became more and more serious. The ozone layer is punctured. Many people were having skin cancer because of ultraviolet rays. And things are moving. Next, please. Drought, and we're talking about water. Just now we spoke about that. Places there's so much flood, there's so much rain, as earlier speakers spoke about, but there's not enough drinking water. Clean drinking water will be more expensive than oil. So those are in the oil and gas business start going to water now. And I mean, it's a fact. Drought is rampant, famine is rampant. Okay, next please. Air pollution and water pollution is a big, big issue. It's difficult to breathe. When you try to breathe in, even with your mask and all that, you can feel the burning sensation. Of course, all this will affect our health tremendously. You see, today I wear two hats. One as the president of the Malaysian Consortium Media Companies. The other one also as the honorary president of Plastics Association and the Asia Plastics Forum, where as a Secretary General since the year 2000, it was formed in 1991 in Japan. We cover 12 countries, 7 out of the 10 ASEAN countries, because Brunei, Laos, and Cambodia don't have plastic association. Then Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Japan, and China. So effectively I represent 3.4 billion people. US is represented by American Chemistry Council, which controls all the big industries, the whole plastics industry in the US, covering North America, Canada, and Latin America. People like Dow Chemical, Chevron Phillips, all the big boys are all there. Europe will be Plastics Europe, covering 54,000 companies. People like Sabic, Borouge, Shell, all the big boys are there. And I represent Asia. And together, 3 of us sit on the steering committee where we come up with policies, where then we work together with the Global Plastics Alliance. Now, in conjunction with the World Plastics Council, they have all the big boys, including Petronas, and to talk about what we can do. And we give proposals where we then connect the dots. Then we bring all these proposals to the United Nations Environment Assembly. Crystal is our from MPMA. Crystal, stand up, show them. She's the executive in charge of sustainability, and she just came back from Unit 5. We sponsored, and then she went there to propose work with our Undersecretary of NREC, Mr. Eddie, to present to the Unit 5 on INC, Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, where we connect all the dots. And despite Greenpeace being very rich, very powerful, very influential, they don't get to work. One country, one vote. So this is what we're trying to do to help the environment. Of course, you look at plastics pollution. They say, Callum, you are in the plastics industry. And you're talking about that, aren't you whacking yourself? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is no. The Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association, which is celebrating its 56th anniversary, is a very progressive and forward-thinking association. We started all this, back in the year 1993, 1992, Plastic Waste Management Task Force. And we believe in facing the challenge head-on. Look at what needs to be done. Like I say, if only I had known before it becomes an issue. So, ladies and gentlemen, next please. For those of you, I think all of us will agree. Like I said earlier, the MNCs, no issue. Many of the mid-tier companies, no issue. The bigger and forward-thinking SMEs, no issue. But it is that 80% micro SMEs which we have to worry about. Number one, like I said, it is not the priority. Number two, there's no pressure for me to change. I'm not even supplying to the SME or to the MNCs, So no pressure, why change? And my priority, I need to use my money to do all that. And this is where we want to address. And when I said the political view, are we approaching it from a holistic point of view? Because talk is cheap. So for those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who are in the early 40s now, by 2060, you will be about 80 years old. And that is if you're still alive. Still alive. Your children will be in the 50s. Your grandchildren will be in the 20s. So the question about the challenge, in general, I want to put to you today, whether you're MNC, mid-tier, SME, micro, or just a simple layman on the ground, is this the legacy you want to leave to your children, your grandchildren, and your future generation? Don't tell the world, ESG, environment, social governance, is not my responsibility. It doesn't bother me. Or are you going to take action? Like I said, if only I had known then. Is it the Chinese have a saying, 早知今日. Can anyone give me the second line? 何必當初呢? Literally translated, if only I had known then, I wouldn't have done this. I would have taken action. So like I said, it's 2060 now, but fortunately it's still 2023, yeah? So we still have the time. So don't say that it is not my responsibility, because other than the economic factor, I think it is also very important that we look at it from the conscience point of view, having the civic consciousness, being personally responsible to take action, to act on our own, and to make sure that things are okay. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You have a great day.
Thank you, Callum.
And now, to my presentation. Quick one, before time runs out, okay? Quick one. Okay, next please. I mean, the Chinese say, what is JG? It's not my problem, okay? Next. I will share my ESG journey, LH Plus. This year we're celebrating our 76th anniversary. And for your information...
Sorry, Callum. Maybe we can touch on this later on. I just want to
okay.
A few other things first. Yeah.
Sorry,
okay,
for your information, gentlemen.
I know he has a lot of things to share.
Don't be impressed by me, okay? I'm only a simple Form 5 boy, okay? Thank you.
Okay. No, I think we have heard this phrase, what get measured gets done. Yeah. So of course we mentioned about KPI. I would like to ask Max, what are the things that can be tracked, to see among the SMEs, how effective their ESG journey or implementation is.
So when it comes to tracking, I think the first thing is like Rizal mentioned, it's first you get the assessment, and then the next thing is tracking. So what do we mean by that? So there's this term called baselining, but baselining, I think baselining is just basically calculating what you emit today, and if you do not know how much you emit or where you are today, it's actually hard to improve from there on. So how do you measure? So there are various tools out there. Of course, you can also do Excel, which we don't recommend. There's various tools out there that you can use to measure. And there are international standards on how to reduce your carbon emission so that you hit certain targets. I don't want to go into like the science part of it. What I want to focus on is there are tools that you can utilize to do this. You don't have to be an expert of this. So, but once you start measuring it, then there are ways to reduce your emission or to reduce your impact. And I know I saw a question just now. There's one of the audience asked, like, solar capex very high. Is there other ways that we can do this? So there are software solutions that can suggest simple stuff that you can do. For example, just changing your lights to LED. That's actually very simple. And that works. It's as simple as that. Nobody's asking you to do EV, solar, LED. That's easy. That's cheap. You can do it today if you want. So, but the question is, after doing it, you can see the impact. Because after you track, you see, oh, my electricity consumption goes down in this factory if I do this. And then you can prove to the banks or the financial institution, you can actually get cheaper rates. For example, some banks are already offering sustainability linked financing for that. And for companies that are in the international exporting business, etc., these are the results that you can show to your buyers that you are not just talking about it, but tracking it, say, this is what I did, and this is the result. This is my carbon emission, etc., reduce. And the other thing that you can do, depending on which sector you are, there are third-party verification that you can get. In fact, there's an ISO standards when it comes to measuring your carbon emission. It's ISO 14064-1. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of manufacturers here that are familiar with the ISO standard. So there are ways to track and to verify and to show that you are doing the right thing. So, and it can be, I said, you can start very, very easily. LED, I think that's the great example of simple stuff that you can do. So nobody is asking, to do the difficult stuff. There are a lot of simple stuff, energy efficiency solution, etc. So when you start tracking it, there are ways, and software can suggest simple ways that you can embark on your ESG journey.
Okay, thanks. Maybe now we move to the kind of the last topic on this subject. We're talking about the stakeholder engagement, which is very important in any initiative that we want to embark. Especially talking about big initiative, mega initiative, especially for small companies like the SMEs. What are the things that needs to be done? Perhaps Rizal can give some views about this to engage, the various stakeholders, for SMEs to start the journey. Here we're talking not only about the employees, we're talking perhaps the community, the customers, and I think it's important. It's crucial to get the stakeholders engagement.
Thank you, Azizi. I mean, in terms of engagement, for example, like SME Corp Malaysia, we do the awareness engagement programs with SMEs. Nevertheless, we cannot do like for the whole 1.2 million of MSMEs out there. Yeah, that's a lot. What we do is we do go by industries in a way for us to do awareness program and engagement. For example, we already started like 400 of SMEs with multinationals, private sectors, for example, with Petronas. And we targeted this year around 1,000 small and medium enterprises should be engaged in terms of the awareness programs. Yeah? Started with the awareness programs. And we also would like to encourage SMEs to actually undergo the SME ESG assessment, because with that they know what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. Yeah. Besides engagement with the SMEs, we also engage with our associations. Yeah. We have 39 or more than 39 active business associations in Malaysia. For that, we always say that ESG is very important. We have PKS Lestari program and also other financial and incentive programs offered by various ministries and government entities. And also, once you know what your strength is, I think it's also very important for the SMEs to communicate to the people outside, saying that what you have done in terms of your ESG initiatives. And this can be done in the easiest way by highlighting that, or perhaps developing a website of your own, that's what you have done in terms of your ESG initiatives. Yeah, and communicating these ESG initiatives perhaps can help. Yeah, encourage others as well, and also, of course, your stakeholders like the buyers, yeah, the banks, to know that you are ESG ready, you have done certain things on ESG initiatives, and also articulate your direction, your vision, your goals, as well as your strategies related to ESG through social media, for example, or through perhaps internally through your intranet, perhaps meetings, posters, perhaps emails, annual reports, for example, as well. I think that's very important for SMEs to show that you already embark with all these ESG initiatives, even though there are still weaknesses, but you have to share what you have done. So this is very important for you to communicate that you are ESG ready. We understand that SMEs are at crossroads. Yeah. Sometimes you have to go this way, or straight, left, or right. So this is very important. But by taking small steps, but sure steps, that will actually bring you to become ESG ready in the ecosystem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Callum, one question for you. You are president of the association. We have so many associations in Malaysia. And also we mentioned just now, or you mentioned, the importance of the micro businesses as well, to push the whole, journey or the ecosystem. So how can SMEs actually leverage, from these big brothers, all the big corporations, or even the associations, to kind of like reap the benefits of pushing them? I think there's also one question, here from the Slido, how basically what can be done to push SMEs, to embark on the journey.
Thank you. One of the questions say, can you share some simple framework, low-hanging fruits, how SME can kickstart with the ESG or Sustainable Development Goal? Ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese have a saying, 睇菜食飯. So, Tan Sri, this is also a Cantonese session, okay? Teaching your Cantonese. Literally meaning, you do what you can, live within your means. Do what you can. Don't try to be overly ambitious. Because ESG, like I said, like IR 4.0, it's a lot of common sense. Can I have my slide, please? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share LH Plus journey, ESG journey. And please do not get me wrong. I am not here to brag, to show off. I'm here to share. And I hope that what we are doing can inspire more companies to do what we are doing. Not necessarily exactly what we are doing. We all know, can I have my slide, please? We all know you see, couple months back, when I was in meeting, and when Dato Sri Lokman Hakim was still there, KSU, the SecGen, we actually spoke about ESG with all the Chamber of Commerce. And when it came to my turn as usual, I will raise a tough question. I say, shouldn't we talk about one common standard rather than having so many? If every ministry implement different standard, everything will be chaotic. And of course, then you have the GRI, the Global Reporting Initiative, which is more or less de facto, system use. Then you have the SASB, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, big word. And then, of course, we have the Bursa 11 policy. So what we did was we took the ECBL, we follow the Bursa. Of course, number one, create your A+ team. I mean, as a boss, we only can do so much. Next spoke about buying in. Unless until your people buying, it will not work. Rizal spoke about small step theory or small win. Yes, we should do all that. And it is simple. Then back just now. Okay. Empowerment. I always tell my team, I'm the boss. But there are a lot of things I don't know. Empower your people. Give them a career path. Let them contribute. They feel, they participate. And the buy-in will come in. And they feel good. At the end of the day, how much can we do? I don't play golf, but if given the opportunity, I also want to have some time to play golf with Tan Sri and all that. Otherwise, imagine you work 24 hours. Even if I sleep in the factory, it will not work. So empower the people. Invest in them and trust them. Kaizen, continuous improvement, the 6S, the 5S plus safety, and of course the culture. When people talk about technology, I talk about culture. Next, please. Next, please. Anti-corruption is given. We have a policy, okay, and then the anti-corruption, anti-bribery. We saw what happened to China. China used to be one of the most corrupted countries, including Indonesia. And look where China is and where Indonesia is. And Malaysia, I'm glad the unity government is doing all that. Today, my message is loud and clear, going green, but only on the environment, okay? Not other things. So you see, the unity government is doing all that. And if we continue to support it, I think a lot can be done. Next, please. This is the first one of the Bursa 11 policies. Community and society. Between 2008 and present, we are restarted. We started with, small, with the Indian families in Kappa and Muru. Then we expanded the Chinese family, the Malay families. Now we are supporting on a monthly basis, ladies and gentlemen, eat 110 families with basic necessity every month. 10 kilo of rice, 2 kilo of cooking oil, eggs, biscuits, mihun, Maggi mee. Basic money. It's not a lot of money. About 90 plus to 100 ringgit, depending on the season. If Deepavali, we give the Indians more. Chinese New Year, we give the Chinese more. And then, of course, Hari Raya, if we give the Malays more. And then we also do, and this is, it's feeling good lah. Back to school program and all that. And from between 2008 and now, we already given out about 3 million plus ringgit. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying you must all do that. Again, live within our means. We do what we can. During the MCO, like everybody else, we were suffering. Our cash flow was tight. So my team said, Callum, should we stop this? I said, no, because of one simple reason. If we are feeling it, these people, the old, you saw the old man, the old ladies, because the young, the children, the son, the daughter-in-law, and all goes up to work and leaving all the old folks and the children at the back. So I said, if we are suffering, they're probably suffering more. Let's tighten our belt, do it. And it's a feel-good feeling. Okay, next please. Okay, these are the Indians with all this back to school, the Chinese, the school, and all that, the Malay families and all that. So, ladies and gentlemen, people always tell me, I will start doing charity when I can afford it. I said, when can you afford it? At the end of the day, it's not how much you give. You give what you can. Next please. Diversity. Can see straight away, male is blue, female is orange, okay? Office and production staff, and we talk about top and middle management. 64% ladies. Why? I said, simple, gentlemen. The ladies are the smart one. Get them to do the job. And not only that, I think you all will agree, the ladies are also more loyal. It's usually the guys who are job hop. They give the excuse, I'm the breadwinner, I got to make more money. That's all crap. Okay, they're not so loyal. The ladies are the loyal ones, and they're the one who really deliver, more careful, more detailed and everything. My top people, most of them are ladies. Okay, next please. Diversity, this is the third one. Next please. Next please. Otherwise I keep saying here.
Time out.
They're telling me, time's up.
Okay. Yeah.
No, quick one.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's lunchtime. Your lunch is 1 hour 45 minutes, which I think is too long. Can I take 10 minutes from your lunch? If you agree, please clap. I will take 10 minutes from your time. Okay,
Okay.
Now, let's give the moderator face because he controls it. Can I back my screen? Oh, thank you. Next, please. Okay. Fourth one is, of course, we talk about next. We have the 6S. 6S including the, please flash on the screen. They cannot see. The audio managers, please.
Okay, can we get the screen back?
Can we have the screen back? Okay, annual
Okay.
6S event where people always joke. You say you go to Callum's factory, you can actually sit on the floor and eat. Some say even more gango. You can sleep on the floor. And because we are very, very passionate about cleanliness, you don't even have a clean factory. What kind of quality are you talking about? And this is where our team stop the factory, stop production, and everybody work as a team to clean. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just to impress people. This is internal, so we don't impress anyone. But what is very important, we build the bond. We build the network. We build the cooperative spirit where everybody wants to help everyone, and support each other. Next, please. Energy management, okay? Very important. We implemented solar. Supposed to do it 4 years ago, but then we delayed because we invested in new technology to get business priority again. And then from that, of course, then you have the MCO. So we stopped and we got it done when MCO was open again, and we started in February. We are producing 1 megawatt of solar energy. Okay, and this helped tremendously, especially with the ICBT. You see, there was one question that talked about very high cost. Now you can have solar panel, zero cost, zero capex. So Don't give excuses. You have your roof, make it work for you, make it work money. And one thing, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that's sure is that tax and death will always be there, and utility costs will keep going up. Next, please. And this is real time. What you see up here, this is. Can anybody notice anything wrong? December 6, 2023, 12:46 p.m. Now it's only June. It's actually June 12, not December 6, because American Star. We export a lot of products, so to test whether you guys are paying attention, okay? Dr. Charan, I think I like your style already. You have good sense of, you see, temperature 31.1 degrees C, cloud weather status. We save banyan tree. Got converted. For today, we save 154 banyan tree. Total is 32,000 trees. Light bulb 20 watts is 127,000 watts. Total 35,000, but 6,000 months of saving. CO2 reduction today is 1,562 kilos, already 306 tons. And this one we started in February 11, 2023. And operation days is 122 days. You see, this is on the daily basis. Everybody can see, they understand, and they know how much we are doing. And like I said, not talk, talk is cheap. Next, action, full LED lights. We were talking about LED lights. We invested in full LED lights in the whole factory office since 2005. And we were using full electric machine in 2007, 16 years ago, long before ESG. Again, what you said in German, the earlier you start, the more you gain. So why wait? Of course, priority again. Not everybody can have that money to invest. So we also did it step by step. We look at our cash flow, we look at everything. And you see, this is the same place, what we call the ISO department. Back then, we were using full electric machine from Japan and then from Korea. Now, 2023, since 2019 September, we really invested about 30 million ringgit in new machine because we sold off the older machine. And then we invested in automation and also in tooling. So a lot of support came from Tan Sri, Raman, Azizi. We are a big, Dr. Charan, we are a big customer of yours. Not big lah. We are good customer. Sorry, not big, good. Okay. No, the thing is, we have to continue to upgrade, to improve, to catch up with technology. This is energy saving and, moving to the new one. Next, please. Okay, health and safety. Right now, we really have 306 days without lost time accident. When they talk about lost time injury, is if you have more than 4 days of MC, then it's a lost day. Then of course we are not perfect. We have accident without lost time injury. We have 2 in March, and of course this is March 2023. We track it. There were some lacerations and all that. I mean, the other thing is that you make yourself look very good. Wow, but at the end, who are we cheating? We are cheating ourselves. Okay, next please. Occupational health and safety related annual trainings. We do basic CPR, first aider. We have about 92 competent first aider. They said, Callum, we are doing plastic. Why you want to talk about CPR, things like I said, that 2-3 minutes is critical. If we can save one life, I'm happy, man. We do what needs to be done. Xiaolong was talking. Is there a plan for a plan? This is what we do. And again, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of this are not my initiatives. It's my team's initiative. LH Plus owns 100% of the company. We export 95% of our total output to US and all that. But other than the head of local sales is my daughter, it's only 5%. All other head of department are non-family members. I'm a different breed of Chinaman because I believe in creating a level playing field where people are promoted based on merits, on contribution, and not because of bloodline. You see, when you give them a career path like that, you're giving them a reason to die for you. And of course, if you work in my company for 5 years, there's still a very new kid on the block. Next, please. We do evacuation drill, day shift and night shift, twice a year, every year without fail. Okay, and the next upcoming fire drill is next week, 20th of June. The last one was on July the 4th, 2022. And when we bring in the bomber, I tell you the joke. When they were testing me, Callum, there's a fire. How do you hold the fire hose or the fire extinguisher? I said, put a plane, you put a pin, you press and you shoot like that. Everybody started laughing. I said, why? I said, Callum, you shoot at the base of the fire. I mean, we laughed. I was laughing. I said, but that's what we see in movie, you do like that. He said, you do that, that's because of fire self-control. I mean, it's basic, and the thing is, gentlemen, basic things like this. As a CEO, I took it for granted. It's what we see monkey do lah. So one of those monkey we do like that. They say, no, you aim at the base of the fire. So the point here I'm trying to raise, ladies and gentlemen, don't ever take things for granted. Don't assume, people will know what to do. Show them the thing and do the drill every year. Okay, next please. Labor practices and standards. This is one of the hostel. No Photoshop, nothing. No, you're serious. I mean, you see a lot of Photoshop. The same people stand in funny angle. Everything is clean, but when you go there, it's dirty. Walmart actually wanted to use our warehouse management, our hostel management as one of the best practices. And we're proud. But it was not like that before. We make sure the safety and we set the standard. We audit them every month. And then every 3 months, we have a competition. We just had one recently. And that time, I would get up at 5:30, reach the office by 6:30, and we would talk. I would speak in Malay. They would translate to Nepalese or Hindi because it's effective communication. We also give them a chance to talk and update them on what's happening. Okay, next, please. Okay, this is the labor and human policy. We just came up with a new handbook again based on the new latest revision. Next. Supply chain management. We are certified for ISCC, the International Sustainability Carbon Certification, ISCC Plus. When you talk about recycled material, it's not simply you buy from there. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, recycled material PCR is usually 60% more expensive, not cheaper, more expensive than virgin raw material. And because, more experience, recycled already. And then, but the customers, the major customers only buy from you if you are certified that you are buying from the right companies and not just speaking like that. And of course, we also try to purchase a lot of material from local. And, Tan Sri, we buy a lot from Lotte also. Okay, next please. Okay, data privacy and security, firewalls, cybersecurity, monitor ERP system. We are upgrading our ERP system from G4 to G5. And then, of course, the cloud computing and all that. All this, ladies and gentlemen, is part of the Industry 4.0. When we talk about vertical and horizontal integration. And where you make it seamless to Internet of Things, to cybersecurity, cloud computing, and you connect to IoT. How you connect your machines, your auxiliary equipment to your ERP system. So everything is real time. And of course, we did not do this overnight. Okay, I want to emphasize, we did step by step, and constant upgrading. Next, please. Okay, the 9-1 water. We talk about importance of water, back then, you see, I encourage my people to talk. We started harvesting rainwater in 2010. We now have 10 400-gallon drums. It's 4,000 gallons. And then one day, after a while, some of people couldn't take it. They say, boss, water is so cheap. How much can you save? Because I kept emphasizing. So he must be thinking, hey, this guy don't know how to calculate, We talk about maths. He said, water is so cheap in Malaysia. How much can you save? I was waiting for someone to ask me the question. And you see, this is what we do. We share, we laugh, and because I'm the boss, many then don't talk to me. My people tell. I said, number one, I'm not looking at the cost of water. I'm looking at water as a resource. And when the well is dry, people will know the value of water. And they finally got a message because they say, if we talk about going green, and then, this you don't do, that you don't do, talk is cheap. So they understood that. And now, during the dry season, when there was the water disruption, everybody was so happy. We still have water to use. And now we're using it to flush toilet for the factory. And by the way, the first thing Japanese customer look at is my factory toilet. After 10 years, he would look at all the urinals, he couldn't believe. He went into the water closet, the WC, hoping to see phone number, picture, and all that. When he saw everything was clean, he came back. Okay, good. Okay, next, please. Waste management. Okay, we target to reduce our scheduled waste by 60% in 2023. I think we will surpass this figure. January to December 2022 is by kilos. We had 2,037 kilos of scheduled waste. Of course, we have the people to come in to collect and we pay. January to May 2023, we only had 225.59 kilos. And the reason is because we started recycling the empty containers. Then we reuse filtered hydraulic oil, which is the big part of it. You filter them, you add in additives, and you use it back. Not so much, ladies and gentlemen, not so much because I want to save money, but because I want to take care of the environment. Okay, and of course, we reuse our cotton racks. You use those cotton racks to clean the machine. After that, normally, cheap one that you just throw. And all that is scheduled waste. So it's not a cost again. Let's wash it, clean it, and use it, reuse it. That's why we are able to do it. Because if we don't show what you're doing, how you do it, a lot of hot air. Next, please. And of course, carbon emission management. Last one, actually. Okay, scope 1, 2. Then we did all these things, and then we monitor the machine running hours and all that. Of course, this is easy. Scope 1, within our control. Scope 2, well, of course, TNB, unless until they start moving away from coal, then the next thing is the cost. It will change. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I think you know ICPT, it went up from 3.7 cents to 20 cents per kilowatt hour. That's because they used the last 6 months. July to December 2022 costing, average cost of oil, okay, gas and coal. So for July 2023, December 2023, they're going to rely on the cost of all these three items from January to June. And because of Ukraine war, now stabilized, all these things has come down. So I think we can expect a big drop in the ICPT, the imbalance cost pass-through from TNB. Okay, next please. So energy consumption, emission, generation, purchase. You can see January 23 is still high. We started solar energy in February 11. And then March, April, of course, April sales drop. So consumption drop. And May is going up again. We're getting more and more business because of the ESG. Just to share, yesterday I met up with a Swedish customer. They have 33 factories in the world. Yeah, okay. So last one already. So because of that, we got more business. So ESG is good. Okay. I told my team, don't tell them the usual thing. Tell them things they never heard before, which other companies don't talk about. ESG. And we should prove. So next, please. Next, please. Okay. I'll end with another quote. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Erwin Toffler. I read this book in 1980. So you guys can guess my age. 1980, I read his book, but I tell you, futurist. And these are important things. Okay, next, please. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Next, please. For those of you, next, please. Next slide, the last slide, please. Those of you who want to get, those of you who want to get my number and connect, because I don't have so much time. Okay, so I'll be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Callum. I know that we have overshot the session, but perhaps we can take one or two questions from the floor. The Slidos, there are a lot of questions from the Slidos, but we have either directly or indirectly answered most of them. So maybe we can have one or two questions from the floor. Just stand up, we'll get the mic to you, and then just identify yourself. Unless everyone is hungry, don't have appetite for the question. Okay. If not from the floor, maybe there is one interesting question from the Slido. Maybe either Rizal or Max can take this up. Whether there's any model can be adopted by business model can be adopted by the SMEs, to effectively balance sustainability goals with economic growth or profitability. Any models that out there?
Model-wise, I think Callum mentioned ESG is making money, not just cost, but making money. So some of our client, hotel, for example, just take hotel, for example, some of our clients, we're helping them to be net zero hotel. And how does that help them? If you want European tourists, these are some of the things on top of their mind. So for example, we do have low carbon like products that sells better in Europe. So those are business model that you can look into. And I think I'm pretty sure Callum have some product that has some low carbon elements into it that sells better in Europe. So those are some of the business model I would say that differentiate yourself. We do have clients that complain that we can't compete with China, it's cheaper, etc. But I said, why don't you think about competing from others' perspective? ESG, like I think Callum can give more concrete example. ESG actually do sell, especially to Europe. You don't have to compete on price, but you can compete on the ESG aspect of it.
I think Max gave a very good idea. Don't compete on price. We compete with China, with India, even with Eastern Europe. Big companies like, Rubbermaid and all that. You see, anything Rubbermaid made in Malaysia, those containers, beverage bottle, anything made in Malaysia, 100% made by us. And it's the 31st year with them. I mean, you do your customer centric and all that. But the point is, don't compete on price. Do not be afraid to walk away from a deal. If the customer keep pushing you like that, what can happen is that, the triangles like this. So instead of moving up, you're moving down to the red ocean. In the end, you're just killing yourself. Think of other ways, what we can do on the ESG, on the quality, on the complication, the sophisticated product. And back in 2007 in German, when the H interviewed me, they asked me one question: how do we compete? I said, number one, choose your competition. Don't compete with the Chinese, with the Indonesian, with the Vietnamese. Compete with the Americans, where they pay by the hour and pay in US dollar. Compete with the Europeans, where they pay in euros and buy the hour. We pay in ringgit by the day, so it's a no-brainer. But the big question is, ladies and gentlemen, do we have what it takes to do what we are doing, what they are doing? Of course, the answer is no. But unless and until we start moving in that direction, we will never be able to achieve that. So it's the same with ESG. We are talking about all these things. Many people don't care about that. And we move ahead. The more, like I said yesterday with the Swedish customer, we showed them, we showed proof. And when we walked the factory, it was clean, it was organized, and they were happy. So all this will help us move to the next level. And many people say, recession, times are bad, no money, don't want to invest. I said, you could start investing now, so that when the next wave comes, instead of catching up, you are there and ready. It's being ready. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just to add, well, I think especially for the SMEs, small and medium businesses, you can actually measure to reduce your environmental footprint, which I think can cost nothing or little, by looking into what you have now in your operation. For example, like reducing using paper, right? From a lot of printing papers to paperless, like using e-folders. You can actually look into the cost of that operation itself. So that is before and after. I think that's a very simple steps that can you use now or implement now to look into how you actually save the environment. Also, for example, like computers, like you switch off your computers during the night time. Because I know some organizations, they on their computers throughout 24 hours. I don't know why, but perhaps company policy, new company policy is saying that you have to switch off your lights, electricity, and track that or monitor that before and after. I think that will be cost reduction by itself. Very simple, small step, but it's just a sure step, which I think SME can actually implement.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I add to that?
A quick one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I spoke about choosing your competitor just now. We should also choose our customers. Which is the biggest market, the older generation or the younger generation? Of course, the younger generation. These are people with big disposable income. They spend what they have. They don't, I mean, like us, we call the cows, Chinese say 种牛嘛. You pick a cow, you save the money and you let the children, the horses enjoy. So it's, for the younger generation, they believe in having work-life balance. They believe in having quality of life, which is not wrong. I mean, and you don't teach old dog new tricks. I'm one of those old dogs, okay? And then instead of trying to sell to the older generation, appeal to the young ones. And these are the people who understands ESG. They want to be socially corporate citizens and all that. And they want to do the right thing. So sell to them. High disposable income. They appreciate ESG. And if you're able to do products like that, the sky's the limit. My son has another company doing design. And he told me one day, he said that I'm going to move away with what we're doing now. We supply to Japan, to Notori, to Muji and all that. We look at the cost, we develop the product, we split the profit. So arm's length. So he said, no, I'm going to move away. We still maintain whatever business we have, but I'm going to start doing my own product. You know, where people buy on impulse. You don't sell by the millions, unless you can sell by that. But they will do something that people buy on impulse. They like it, they look at it, they want to have it. You create the demand. And I don't argue with him because he knows the market better than I do. I say, go ahead and do it. You know, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we have come to the end of the session. And I would like very much to thank the fellow panelists today on stage, Mr. Callum and Mr. Max, as well as Rizal, for the thoughts, for the sharing that they have given this morning. And I hope, I'm sure, they are beneficial to all of you in the course of your journey on the ESG. So thank you very much. I'm sure you can catch up with them. They will be staying for lunch, I suppose, Whoever has additional questions, you can just approach them directly. Thank you very much.